On November 14, 1998, the members of Tectonic Theater Project traveled to Laramie, Wyoming to conduct interviews with the people of the town. Over the next year, we would return to Laramie several times and conduct over 200 interviews. The play you're about to see is edited from these interviews, as well as from journal entries from members of the company and other found texts. Company member Greg Peroni.
My first interview was with Detective Sergeant King of the Laramie Police Department. At the start of the interview, he was sitting behind his desk, sitting something like this.
I was born and raised here. My family is a third generation. We've had basically three, well, my daughter makes it fourth generation. Quite a while. It's a good place to live, good people, lots of space. Now all the towns in southern Wyoming are spaced because the train came through. It was how far they could go before having to refuel and rewater. And Laramie was a major stopping point. That's why the towns are spaced so far apart. We're one of the largest states in the country and the least populated.
There's so much space between people and towns here. So much time for reflection.
Rebecca Hilliker, head of the theater department at the University of Wyoming.
You have an opportunity to be happy in your life here. I found that people here were nicer than back in the Midwest where I used to teach because they were happy. They're just glad the sun is shining, and it shines a lot here.
What you have is, you have your old-time, traditional-type ranchers. They've been here forever. Laramie was a major hub for where they come for supplies and stuff like that.
Stewardship was one thing all our ancestors taught us.
Eileen Engen, rancher.
If you don't take care of your land, then you lose your living. So you first of all have to take care of your land and do everything you can to improve it.
I love it here.
Doc O'Connor, limousine driver.
You couldn't put me back in that mess out there back east. I mean, best thing about it was the climate. The cold and the wind. They say the Wyoming wind will drive a man insane, but it doesn't bother me. Well, some of the times it bothers me, but most of the time it don't.
And then you have the university population.
I moved here after living in a couple of big cities.
Philip Dubois, president of the University of Wyoming.
I loved it there, but you have to be out of your mind to let your kids out of the park. And here, in the summertime, my kids play out until 11 o'clock, and I don't think twice about it.
And then you have the people who live in Laramie, basically.
Well, I moved here from rural Texas.
Zachy Salmon, Laramie resident.
Now, in Laramie, if you don't know someone, you'll definitely know someone they know. So, it can only be 1 degree removed at most, and for me, I love it. I mean, I love to go to the grocery store because I get a visit with 4 or 5 or 6 people every time I go, and I don't mind people knowing my business, because what's my business? I mean, my business is basically good.
I like the trains too. I mean, they don't bother me. Well, some of the times they bother me, but most of the time they don't. Even though one goes by every 13 minutes out where I live.
Doc actually lives up in Bossler, but everyone in Laramie knows him. He's also not really a doctor.
They used to carry cattle, them trains, but now they carry our diapers and cars.
I grew up in Cody, Wyoming.
April Silva, university student.
Laramie's better than where I grew up. I'll give it that.
It's a good place to live. Good people, lots of space. Now, when that incident happened with that boy, a lot of press people came down here, and one day, some of them followed me down to the crime scene. It was a beautiful day, absolutely gorgeous day. The sky was real clear, crisp, and it was that blue that, you know, you can't really paint. It's just sky blue. It's just gorgeous. And the mountains had a little snow on them. Anyway, this one lady reporter person, she said,
Well, who found the boy? Who was out here anyway?
and I looked at her and I said, well, it's a popular place for people to run, and mountain biking's big, horseback riding. It's close to town. And she looked at me and she goes,
Who in the hell would want to run out here?
and I'm thinking, lady, you're just missing the point. All you gotta do is turn around, see the mountains, listen to the birds, smell the air. And they were just nothing but the story. I didn't feel judged. I felt that they were stupid. They're just missing the point. They're missing the whole point.
It's hard to talk about Laramie now. To tell you what Laramie is for us.
Jedediah Schultz.
If you would have asked me before, I would have told you Laramie is a beautiful town. Secluded enough that you have your own identity. A town with a strong sense of community. Everyone knows everyone. A town with a personality most larger cities are stripped of. Now, after Matthew, I would say that Laramie is a town defined by an accident, a crime. We've become Waco. We've become Jasper. We're a noun, a definition, a sign. We may be able to get rid of this, but it'll sure take a while.
Journal entries. Members of the company, Andy Paris.
Moises called, saying he had an idea for his next theater project. But there was somberness in his voice, so I asked him what it was all about. He said he wanted to do a project about what was happening in Wyoming.
Stephen Belber.
Lee told me the company was thinking of going out to Laramie to conduct interviews and that they wanted me to come, but I'm hesitant. I have no real interest in prying into a town so radical.
Amanda Gronich.
I've never done anything like this in my life. How do you get people to talk to you? What do you ask?
Moises Kaufman.
The company had agreed that we should go to Laramie for a week and interview people. I'm a bit afraid of taking 10 people on a trip of this nature. We must make some safety rules. No one works alone. Everyone carries cell phones. I have made some preliminary contact with Rebecca Hiller, head of the theater department of the University of Wyoming. She's hosting a party for us on our first night in Laramie, and has also promised us to introduce us to some possible interviewees.
I must admit that when you first said you were thinking of coming here, when you first called me, I wanted to say you kicked me in the stomach. Why are you doing this to me? But I've thought it over and I've realized we have had so much negative closure on this whole thing. And the students really need to talk. They started talking when the event happened, but then the media descended and all the dialogue stopped. You know, I am proud of my students because they are free thinkers. And you may not like what they have to say, and you may not like their opinions, because they can be very redneck. But they're honest and they're truthful. So there's this excitement here. There's a dynamic that I never had back in the Midwest or North Dakota, where I used to teach. Because there was so much Puritanism that dictated how everybody looked at the world. A lot of times they didn't have an opinion. You couldn't get them to express one. And to be completely honest, I'd much rather have opinions I don't like and have that dynamic of education. There's a student I think you should talk to. His name is Jedediah Schultz.
I've lived in Wyoming my whole life. The family's been here for generations. When the time came to go to college, my parents couldn't afford to send me. I wanted to study theater, and I knew if I was going to get a scholarship, I was going to have to, I knew if I was going to go to college, I was going to have to get a scholarship. So they had this competition every year, this Wyoming State High School competition. And I knew if I didn't take first place in the duets, that I wasn't going to get the scene. So I went to the theater department of the university looking for good scenes. And I went up to one of the professors and I was like, I need a killer scene. And he was like, here you go, this is it. And it was from Angels in America. So I read it and I knew I could win best scene if I did a good enough job. And when the time came, I told my mom and my dad so that they could come see me in the competition. Now you have to understand something. My parents go to everything. Every ball game, every hockey game, everything I've ever done. And they took me into their room and they told me if I did that scene, that they would not come see me in the competition because they believed it was wrong. That homosexuality is wrong. And They believed so strongly about it that they did not want to come see their son do probably one of the most important things that he had done at that point in his life. And I didn't know what to do. I had never, ever gone against my parents' wishes, so I was really worried about it, but I did it anyway, and the only thing I can remember from the competition is when we finished, me and my scene partner came up to each other and we shook hands, and we got a standing ovation. It was amazing. It was one of the best moments of my life, and my parents weren't there. And to this day, it was the one thing that my parents didn't come see me do. And thinking back on it, I think, why did I do it? Why did I oppose my parents? Because I'm not gay, so why did I do it? And I guess the only honest answer I could give is, well, I wanted to win. It was an amazing scene. It was like the best scene. Do you know Mr. Kushner? Maybe you could tell him.